Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so now I got the other camera, so it's not going to upload as quickly. So I'll make darn sure this isn't time sensitive. It's a therapy session. 1,301. You know, we've already done 1,300 therapy sessions, man. 1,300. And I'm sure I've lost count a couple times, so that's give or take. Maybe you found an error. Please let me know if you found one. But yeah, that's a real thing, where you'll lose count somewhere down the road and then just keep up with the mistake and then have to go back and redo all of them. I'm pretty certain I've done that maybe 3 times. So this is always a rough estimate. Don't think that I've been perfect in my count for therapy sessions. I'm certain, absolutely certain I have. I just want to let people know that we're somewhere in there in 1,300 range. But yeah, man, it's been a good journey, long journey. I've, illustrated some of the most difficult times that I've been through in these therapy sessions. I've had some of the most important conversations I think I've ever had on this channel. And a lot of times I consider the fact that people who know me don't know that I do this. It's hidden in plain sight. Like, a lot of them know I have a channel. In fact, everybody knows I have a channel, but I don't think they have to click on any of this. And if they do, they've never told me that they've heard any of the most important conversations. And I haven't been confronted. Nothing, ever. That's why I just move in the way that I do, comfortably saying what I gotta say. And truth be told, nobody ever asked me to not say anything, which I'm very thankful for. So I said a lot of things that a lot of people would get in trouble for. I don't mind telling people that, because it's all there. If you follow it, it's there. One therapy session has been removed because I said something that had something to do with a injection of a certain kind, and they didn't agree. Powers that be didn't agree with what I said. I don't know. I honestly didn't think that was the most egregious thing I said, but I guess I triggered something in them. They deleted the video. I didn't have to delete it. They deleted it for me. So there is one missing. But I never changed the count because that actually exists. So yeah, if you're looking for a particular one, that is also something that you'll see back there if you channel through my therapy session. But come a long way, man. Come a long way. We've seen a lot in the city, and now that we're in this space where the city, I think, though it doesn't appear to be fully at risk, I think we're looking at something that could potentially be risking the entire thing. I really believe that. It just looks weird out here when you consider these fires in different spots, all over the place, burning the structure of many homes, putting more people at risk to be displaced in different parts of the county. I just think it's a decent chance that this whole LA is at risk. And when you've seen the decimation of Gaza, or you see the decimation of Maui, if I'm not mistaken, and when that happened, like, you can picture devastation in other places when you know that the world has allowed it to happen. Like, it's not weird to see miles and miles of civilization just flattened in 2025. It's not weird to see that. And that's unfortunate, man. And it's a lot of things that were weird up until last year that are kind of normal at this point. And that's the truth, man. Some of the stuff you see on your phone nowadays, it's like, what the hell? A year ago. Now it's like, oh, man, that's what we come to get used to at this point. And so I just try to meditate as much as I can, pray as much as possible, and maybe something I can ask for is a bit more undoing of the desensitization of my own mind. Not to say that I want to be re-traumatized or have nightmares about things or whatever. I'm not looking for terror in my own head, but just a bit more feel when I see certain things. Like if this fire would have taken place, say 10 years ago, it would have been so much more devastating to me. I would be so much more enthralled in the feelings of people who've lost everything. Like, it's just like a nightmare that I definitely do not want for anybody. But as I said a couple of times, the devastation of Gaza and the type of suffering that they've been through just creates a whole new level from which you are familiar with. That's what it comes down to. A whole new level from which I'm familiar. That's to where this would be a 10 years ago, as it pertains from 1 to 10, how devastating is this? Now it's about a 6. And that's because I've seen such horrific things in regards to the genocide. And this happened in my own state. This happened in my own city. It's a risk, probably risking my own life. And I'm just like, it's about a 6. About a 6. Burnt down my sister's house, my father's house. That's how real it is for me. But it's like, with the same eyes that I'm looking at the devastation that's going on in LA, I've seen kids holding kids who are no longer alive. Parents holding their kids that are no longer alive. Bodies scattered about. Devastation, fire, people on fire still alive, dying, like stuff like that. It's like, when you see enough of that in a small amount of time, less than 450 days, and you see a bunch of that every day, to now it's like, you know, hey man, I'm sorry this is happening to everybody. But like, I can't act like this is the worst thing I've seen. I've seen worse this morning, like that's the truth. And because I'm not aligned with the idea that Palestinian people are terrorists and Muslim people are terrorists, I guess I'm just not supposed to care. It's like I'm supposed to celebrate those who are putting my safety at risk, dying and suffering. That's like how America looks at this thing. It's like, well, these are terrorists. That, you know, we've been taught how to view terrorists. And terrorists look a certain way in all of the different forms of media and fiction that we watch. It's terrorism. Like, they're jihadists. They're, you know, and religious extremist Muslims. You're supposed to fear them. You're supposed to not only fear them, but you're supposed to kill them. They're the bad guys in the world who want to see our civilizations brought down. It's like that's the crap that's in all these people's heads. So when they see them going through what they're going through, they don't even look over there to see if that's what it is. They just support it. Look, bring down the terrorists. Of course, they're terrorists. Like that is exactly how this place has been conditioned. That's exactly how it's been conditioned. When you watch enough TV shows that paint out Muslim people and Islamic people as people who are going to walk onto a train and blow it up. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get on a plane and, you know, hijack it and fly it into a bunch of towers and, you know, going to cut your head off in some weird video where they're standing over some unfortunate Caucasian person and just chopping their head off. You see enough of them videos as you grow up, and then you just get to a point where it's like, okay, they are terrorists, and they were taught a terrorist ideology, and therefore I'm supposed to fear them, hate them, they hate me, so I don't ask too many questions when something happens to them. Just know that I'm safer now that it's happened. That's how we've been taught. That's the logic that a lot of Americans, and I mean a whole damn lot, have been engaging in regards to this genocide. They legitimately get angry, riled up, and violent toward people like me who are saying, nah, I'm not agreeing with that. I don't see that when I look at those people at all. That's not what's there. And mind you, they haven't looked over there, because if they did, they'd kind of see what I see, but they believe what they were taught. Like, I watched Homeland. I like that show. I watched all the seasons of the show, the whole thing. So when they say that's the terrorists, and by way of what it is that I enjoyed on television, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's how you relate terrorism to them. They're the terrorists. That is it. You don't have to think about it. It's laid out flat for you. You know what to look out for in the world. You see them, clutch your purse. Be afraid of them. So we thought. And that's the scary part. There's a lot of people who think they're really good people, but they align with how they were taught to look at certain people. And the way they look at those people is a certain level of certainty that they're evil. When the reality is they haven't met any of those people, and they're afraid to. They're afraid to meet those people. Anybody who looks like them is not a person to get to know, but someone to not trust, because of course they're looking to kill us inherently and teach their children to kill us inherently, and all these different things that you're taught about them over there. But see, here's the problem with that. When you're someone like me, they did the same thing to people like me. And they tell you the same things about them that they've said about us. So as a us, I have to look at that and question it. At the very least, look over there to see who's over there. Even though all the people have told everybody who all Showtime has shown me the terrorists look like them, they're the terrorists, be afraid. 9/11 was done by them, be afraid. All the beheading videos that you've seen in your life, they were the ones doing it, be afraid. They make their women cover up. That's just restrictive, right? Be afraid. Anytime you see them engaging in any type of prayer, explosions follow thereafter. But the problem is, they told you when you see me, be afraid, because I'm likely going to do this, that, and the third. Except for on the inside of me, I'm actually not thinking like that. So when they've smeared you to think that I'm a certain way, and have been inaccurate in regards to depicting my image to somebody, I don't have the privilege of acting as if I don't know that such a thing has been done. But they don't necessarily need me, black, middle age, I don't know if I'm middle age yet, but I'm approaching it, man, to think a certain way. They need white, young person who makes up the majority of this country to think that way. And as they see their own image, they paint one another out, for the most part, to be civil or diverse in different types of things. Some of them good, some of them bad, like normal. White is normal. Sometimes you'll see a Jeffrey Dahmer, sometimes you'll see a nice guy. Like, they look at themselves with a certain blanketed understanding that you give an open-ended idea of what a person could be, and then from there, their merits will determine who they are. So they look at each other and say, well, I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but I'm sure going to find out. But they don't afford the people who've been painted as terrorists and gangsters that way. They don't align that level of open-ended possibility to each and every soul that they see on the street who aligns with the image of what it is they've been told is an enemy or a bad guy or a terrorist or a gangster. Somebody who's going to rob them, a thug, a rapist, or whatever they tell you about people of color. But the reality is, the same way you look at white people as a white person, who could be any damn thing, whatever they may be, good or bad, Jeffrey Dahmer, or could be Phil Donahue. You know what I mean? It could be JJ Redick, or it could be Jeffrey Epstein, whatever version, regular. Could be good, could be bad, odds or whatever. You don't know. Could be a good guy, could be a bad guy, who knows? It's just a guy, regular. That's what white is in America, regular. We're the majority, and that's just it. When it comes to them, though, they're terrorists. they think a certain way, collectively against us. Poison. Mental poison. Meant to make you have selective humanity inherently without questioning it. Selective humanity, meaning that you only care about certain types of people being harmed. Certain types of people's children could potentially grow up to be terrorists, so therefore you need to stay away from those certain type of people in this regard. Our children could grow up to be one way or another in a million different ways, and if we lead them the right way, we're going to teach them the right way. And what's the right way? To look at everybody who looks like them and say, we're fine, like, he's regular. Be careful, don't talk to strangers. But you could be a decent stranger, but just be on guard as a child. Like, regular. But when it comes to Muslims, when it comes to black people, when it comes to Mexicans, it's a collective thought that they walk with at all times. And if you find a good one, they're attached to 10 bad ones to still be on guard. It's like, man, if you haven't noticed, that doesn't align with the testimony of those who've walked amongst people, giving them an opportunity to be whatever. Like myself, who's known some good people from this race, some not so good people from that race, heard of some crazy people from that race, heard of some saints from that race. They could be whatever, friend. That's what it really comes down to. I can tell you some great black people, some awful black people. We could be whatever. Like, we could be anything. We don't have the collective thought that this is what we are, so therefore this is what we're going to be, and there's no way around it. And we were taught some collective thing to look at you and say you're the worst or the best, or that we can do this and do that. It's like that collective thought theory doesn't hold a whole lot of weight in the world around you. But if you allow yourself to stay in the collective thought application bubble, you're going to most definitely believe what you've been taught about people being whatever it is that they ultimately probably could be, or not could be, or maybe not, maybe depending. I mean, it's like, could be, I'd imagine some people you see from that race are going to be that way, But like, not everybody. Not the way that you're taught to be fearful of them and draw a line between them and yourself before actually knowing if that line is necessary. So now they're on edge against you, you're on edge against them, and the negativity is in place before the bridge could potentially even be burned or considered. And that, my friend, is the problem in and of itself. That line of thinking that makes you think that all of them are a certain way also makes you look at them and treat them a certain way before they have a chance to show you who they are, who they're not. And they dislike you for that, and now you got problems even when they're not bad people. They're looking at you as somebody who's discriminatory against them, so therefore whatever evil is in them inherently, in pride of their own identity, is pointed at you, who would threaten otherwise pride of that identity. They take it personally, as you would, if someone were to shun you without actually finding out if there's a reason to. And because you're not related to the systematic understanding of your own people being shunned a certain way in the media and in fiction, you don't understand how it feels to be on edge, maybe. Because I don't know you, maybe you do. But like in theory, you don't know how it feels to be on edge, thinking that the look that you get from somebody else is applying a certain mindset that they believe you hold to your image. So if I see you looking at me and I don't have the greatest look on my face, maybe that part might be the problem. Is that every time I look around and I see somebody that looks like you looking at me, I assume you think I'm something they told you I was that I never was, never wanted to be. And then we stay at odds for that reason. We got to stop letting people mold our minds about the people around us and start just saying, hey, people could be whatever. It could be whatever. Literally. I'm not sitting here telling you all Arab people are wonderful human beings that are going to be the best human beings in the world. No, I'm telling you they could literally be whatever. There could be some great ones, there could be some awful ones. Just like your favorite people, whoever you are that you're comfortable saying that about. Or maybe you do have a cynical way of looking at your own people. So you definitely have a cynical way of looking at everybody else. Maybe you have a cynical way of looking at your own self. A lot of people are waiting for loyalty but never want to apply any. A lot of people want to have humanity pointed at them but don't actually apply humanity to anybody else. So the skepticism that they have for the world around them is based on their reluctancy to have any trust in anybody. And as a result, that skepticism and that cynicism leaves them being the worst of us inherently. Because they're ready to treat everybody poorly and think nobody's going to apply no love to them. Think they got to be on edge in the presence of anybody. Think that everybody's jealous of them, so they're trying to make people more jealous of them in response to what they believe is there that they otherwise are projecting in a lot of cases. And the process goes on and on and on from person to person to person. Unless you are taught some collective thought, they're the worst people in the world, you gotta hate them inherently type energy from birth. Because some are. Just ain't the ones they tell you it is. It's them. They're the ones who want to mold everybody to look at everybody for, like with a side eye. But never them. Hey, they got the ears of everybody with all they control, but they have everybody looking at everybody else like this. But looking at them like this. When they should actually be the ones being looked at like this. Because they're teaching everyone around them who's a part of what they do to treat everyone how they're treating everyone. Keep that energy going. Can you mold in people that look like me to be considered terrorists or bad guys or what have you? It turns out that every accusation is a confession with those of whom I'm referring to. And even they got some good people in their community that deviate from the ideology, that are wired a certain way to go against what it is they're taught. Thank God for people like that, who just inherently wired to look at everything that's being taught to them and say F it, just because. Those people often save the whole people when they represent themselves and their group in the presence of new people. Because inherently they didn't go along with the group thought that was taught to all their people, the brainwashing, the propaganda. They gave the finger to all of that. So when new people meet them and get a chance to actually know them, they have a view of looking at people that isn't indoctrinating the propaganda. Thank God for people like that, even though they can be a bit irritating at times to people within those groups who want to think that way. They ultimately be the ones that give you an opportunity to have a bridge with people that you were taught to hate, or taught to look at with a side eye, or taught to think of the worst people in the world, or what have you. They can suggest to you, if you're open-minded enough, that those people aren't what you think they are at all. And that maybe that crap we were taught is poisonous. And maybe everything that we're saying others are is in fact what we're doing without actually having any understanding that that's us. It's so important to have self-awareness, to have community awareness, to know what it is that you are versus what it is that you may believe others are. So important. Every day I walk past this Starbucks, looking at people paying into genocide every single day. Just paying into the destruction of children. By people who believe the people who they're killing have ideology, applications of collective thought. when it's actually them being that exact thing. Applications of collective thought to, in fact, hate a certain people, and in the name of preserving self. I gotta stay away from them because they want to teach their kids to hate me. And I'm going to teach my kids that this is how they think, so it's okay to kill them. That's exactly what they're engaging with. People who own Starbucks and all the other Zionists in the world. That's exactly how they move. And I tell you, at the end of the day, there's still enough people in those areas where they're from who've shown me that they don't align with that thinking to not want to collectively punish them for the actions of their ideology and community, country, or what have you. Enough Israeli youth that have deviated from being recruited to the IDF have gone to jail because of it, to know that if we drop a bomb on the entire Israel, that we're going to be effectively killing some people that don't deserve to die, who would otherwise want genocide to stop, and maybe would fight tooth and nail to ensure that it does. Collective punishment doesn't work. Collective application of group thinking that everybody thinks a certain way, it doesn't work. It's a bad science. It doesn't work. You may find people within the community that think a certain way, but there's always going to be some people that deviate from that thinking. Always. 100% of the time, you're going to find some people that ain't like that, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times in our communities, we don't teach one another that about different people. We may teach one another that about the collective overall majority, because they taught us how to look at them as regular, which is really warped when you consider it. Look at each other in your own community side-eye, thinking that y'all might be terrorists or something like. But when it comes to them, it's like, oh, they're good old-fashioned people. Maybe. Could be a Jeffrey Dahmer, but not most of the time, you know. That type of stuff. And then you look at your own brother and say, man, let me walk. I don't know about this dude. Like, that type of stuff is just like weird. You look in the mirror and you're not that, but you believe the application of propaganda upon your community that tells you you are and they are like that. It's like, how are we like? I'm not any of that. But you still wonder if your brothers are, I don't know. That's why these conversations, I think, are so fruitful. Normalizing these type of conversations is my responsibility, because I can think this way. I see this way, and that's why I want people to at least hear my point of view. As we talked about yesterday, mental poison, and I've mentioned earlier in this video, poison. A lot of stuff is poison, especially in the Western world, where you're taught to live nestled comfortably in hypocrisy at all times. They had to provide you some sort of mental poison so that you wouldn't lose your damn mind as you look around at all the stuff that has been done, and all the different misdirection, and all the different stuff, all the stuff. It's a million different things. And they tell you, just go along with it, it's fine. Just do your civic duty and vote, you'll be fine. Smoke a little weed, you'll be fine. Watch the game. Don't worry about none of the stuff that's done by your forefathers is not your fault. Don't worry about slavery. We're not putting you in chains. You're the center of attention. Do you feel like you're enslaved? No, you're free. So long as you follow the laws, you're free. So why are you so worried about what happened to your great-great-granddaddy? He's dead. He's free now too. Like, that's how they've warped our brains to go along with the horrible views and the horrible way of doing things. You're the most important thing in the world. As long as you take care of yours, get as much money as you can, you live free. Don't worry about what's happening to the person next to you. Just rise to the top of your capitalistic totem pole. Don't worry about them. Let them worry about them. They're trying to do it too, see? They ain't worried about you. Why are you worried about them? That's how they've aligned us with the hypocrisy of us, as in the U.S. That's how they've aligned us with the hypocrisy. Make us believe we are the center of the universe, the main character, the only thing that matters. Us. I ain't worried about them. They're trying to stop us from being us, and I'm trying to get to the top of the capitalistic totem pole. Give me all of my money. If you get yours, congrats, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm jealous. I don't know. That's exactly how it works. Work for them. Work for them. Do everything they tell you to do. Get as much money as you can. Consume. Be a consumer. Buy all the stuff. Look at this commercial. Look at this ad. Buy it. Buy it. Buy it. You can't buy it, you're a brokey. Beneath you. Everybody's beneath you who doesn't have money. You're not gonna get the girl. Hey girl, you better look this way. You better get your body done. You don't want to get your body done? I feel so sorry for you. You must be broke. Like, that's the type of shit they want us to think. They want us to be so caught up in the measures that they told us are levels of success and status, levels and things that indicate status. They want us to be measuring so high for various different main character syndrome type abuses. It's me, spinning around in circles and shit. It's all about me, it's me, hopping up and down, like, so that you don't care about what happened here, what it is you're pushing forward, what you're relaying forward to the next generation, who's doing what around you, and what you effectively raising awareness can do to stop some of the horrors that other people go through who aren't taught to think it's me, and spin around in circles and shit. Now I'm trying to get to the top. I'm trying to get I could really care about what's going on over there, but I gotta keep my job so I can get my promotion, get one up on old dude that I'm competing with. He's trying to get his money, he's trying to get my money too. I can't let it happen. So I'm gonna be quiet about whatever the bosses are doing, even though it's the worst thing in the world. I'm gonna shut up about it, because I'd be damned if I let my coworker get to the top of that totem pole, not without me having an opportunity. Like, that's the type of main characters of mind abuse that's been going on in this place for years and years and years and years. Main character mind abuse, and the relaying of that nonsense to our children. I'm gonna be a star. It's me. It's all about us, and you look at us. They didn't treat us well. They did treat us well. We could support them even when they're committing genocide, because they came through for us when we were talking about it's me. It's all about that me shit. Like, meanwhile, people are being tortured all over the world on your dime, and you think about you. Me and mine. And the best thing, the most common thing you're gonna hear a person with that mindset say is, well, I've got kids. They'll pass off all morality to the idea that they have people that they're teaching whatever to deal with whatever tomorrow. I got kids. You let kids suffer. Why? Because I got kids. You shouldn't be a parent. You are a child. You ain't standing for nothing at all. And you blame it on the fact that you have responsibility. And that's how they pass forward all these ideologies of me, and they're the bad guy, and they're the bad guy, but them people, they're okay, depending. And us, we're above all, but not them, just us. Like, that's how they pass that shit forward. That's how. If people want to know how we're in a space where we allow for genocide to happen, it's because more and more of that stuff has come every generation. It's applied more and more of that propaganda on the heads of Western mindsets. More and more. Me, us. Don't talk about them, but don't trust them, and they're his enemies, and he could do that to him, but not us. Like, nonsense. Absolute and utter godless nonsense, lacking in all humanity and all critical thinking. No thought applied to any of this crap. Just I'm doing, and I've got to go, and we're gonna race, and I'm gonna get mine, and I'm gonna be at the top of the totem pole. And when I get there, it's perfect until it's not. Till it's literally not. You feel me? Until the karma comes around for all your indifference and your house is burning the hell down. And now what? Some of y'all racing to the top just to fall onto the ground. You're going to be on the ground by the end of your lives. While you spent your whole lives giving the finger to everybody else so that you can get to the top. You're going to die on the ground. That's the supreme irony of all of this. Some of y'all going to die poor. You did everything for money, you're going to die poor. And you turned a blind eye to every bad thing you ever heard or saw. Didn't raise awareness for nothing that could awaken the minds of anybody, and you're going to die broke. It's the craziest thing, but it's the truest thing I can say to some of y'all. And wouldn't have, if you just would have had a little bit of humanity and a little bit of decency. What you would have found out is those people you were lenient with and supportive of, they would have been able to tell you what was coming around the corner over there. They would have been able to give you a little bit of water when you were thirsty. They could have been the ones that help your son or your daughter out or whatever situation. You didn't care about none of that because you were trying to get to the top of the totem pole, trying to get to the top of whatever it is you were going for. Make it about me and spin around in circles and smile in bliss because I've won the American dream. And I don't care if that means if it's an Islamic nightmare or African nightmare, as long as I get mine. It's poisonous. It was never meant for your betterment. It was meant to keep this country in a position of strength and all Western allies in a position of strength so that they can use that leverage that they have to do whatever they chose. And if they happen to be the Islamic extremists that they say everybody else was, or rather religious extremists they tell you everybody else was, they can enact their religious extremities on anybody. Because you allowed them, by way of being manipulated with that line of thinking, into all of the wealth necessary to have the leverage to do whatever, however, forever. It seems. The people who were manipulating you, every accusation was a confession. Anytime they accused anybody of anything, it was because they was doing it. That's where they got the idea. They were doing it. And they're burning babies. They were burning babies. They're religious extremists. They're religious extremists. Oh, they rape people. They were raping people. Every accusation was a confession with those people. And most of the time you were too distracted trying to compete with people next to you who had very little power at all. I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get mine. We're going to get ours. It's about us. Center of attention. I got to stun on them. I got to get the most money so I can stun on them. I got to be able to attract this superficial woman who's caught up in the same mental trap. And if I lose all the crap that I've gotten with ill-gotten gains, she's going to leave me. But that's what we sign up for, right? It just never ends, man. It don't end. None of it's leading nowhere. And all it does is make the people who are doing the worst things in the world wealthy as hell. That's all it does. Make them wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. And more and more leverage to do God knows what to the next generation. And we just keep on going along with it. Keep on letting them do it because God forbid we're on the outside of this thing. God forbid we can't reach the top of that totem pole. God forbid we don't reach the status that we're dreaming of or what other measures they put in our place for us to want. Measures that they laid out flat for us. You need this new car. You need this. This is the place you want to live. Look at that diamonds. Look at the stuff around his neck. You need that. Or whatever they gave your people. Oh, you're going to be at the top of this, top of that. Whatever they gave you. For us, it was diamonds and cars and pretty girls and ass shaking and all this type of stuff. For your community, it might have been something else. But whatever it was, they were selling you the idea of it so that you would reach for it instead of reaching out and stopping them from doing all the evil shit they were doing. And you'd be too distracted with trying to reach the top of whatever measures they told you to reach for instead of reaching out and telling your brother, hey, look out for this is what they're doing. Because if enough of us were thinking that way, they wouldn't have the leverage to continue doing things this way. All they were trying to do was have enough leverage to control the world and kill their enemies. That's all it was. After all that, that's all it was. They wanted all the money in the world so that they can enact genocide on the Palestinian poor people. Arab people that they hated because of some weird shit that they believed from 5,000 years ago. That most of them don't even have any actual lineage and history within themselves toward. They just joined the cult. That's exactly what it is. It's a cult. All-inclusive cult. As long as you're willing to hate like we hate, move how we move, and manipulate the way we manipulate, you can make our team stronger. That's all it was. It's a gang. Every accusation, every single one of them, confession. Every single one of them. And all this stuff that we've described, all of it, they benefit from and or set in motion all of it. That's what I've come to understand. All of it. Gotta give them that. They found a way to world domination. Or at least they're well on their path to it, so long as people keep thinking this way in this nation. They're gonna get it. They're gonna definitely have it. And what's the world's defense to such things? What's the world's defense to their madness? I'd imagine people like myself. We're the thing that's supposed to change things. We're the ones supposed to tell you, hey, this is what they're doing. Don't be like them. Don't teach your kids that crap. Revolt against that at all costs. Save the world of nonsense. Save the world of this alignment of thinking. Forever and whatever comes with it going forward. Natural occurrences, organisms that are meant to defeat the evil. You know, you talk about white blood cells. My mom used to mention, your white blood cells, fight off all of the bacteria and all the different things that would otherwise come your way. And if they're strong enough to do so, you can get healed. You'll be cured of sickness. I feel myself to be a white blood cell. No pun intended. Black blood cell. In the sense that I'm going to try to defend us against that for which is a cancer in us, what is making us sick. And that's what that is. That is a sickness of the mind. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Like, don't be afraid to be different as it pertains to what makes this place structure the way that it does. Because it's not meant to continue going this way. This is meant to either end in full-on destruction, welcoming the karma of bad things coming his way for being selfish and being indifferent to the suffering of others, or it's meant to change. One way or another, infinite change is coming. World domination is not obtainable. Not under God. That's the reality of it. They move as if God doesn't exist. And that's unfortunate for them. As we said in that last video, under God, you can't do none of this. Not without it being bad for you in the end. Not without immense amount of reckoning coming your way. Suffering coming your way. And that they move it like there is no God does not mean that he doesn't exist. See, that's the thing. I think a lot of people believe that if they don't believe in God, he can't do nothing. It's like, since they're the center of the universe, or the chosen ones, or whatever confusion that they engage in, so long as they pretend he doesn't exist, they don't have to deal with the consequences of his wrath. They can will him away just like they will everything else in this world. That's not how that works. See, that's the problem. They've amassed so much power and strength in the world that they think they can will away that for which created the world from affecting the world against their intentions. If we convince everybody that God don't exist and convince everybody that we're the most powerful thing in the world, we cover enough of our bases, buy all the borders, buy all the governments. What can God do? They try to stifle God, I guess. They try to stifle him everywhere they can. We control who gets created. You know, put mass abortion clinics over here. Do germ warfare over there. And with our mathematics, we can effectively stifle the intention of God. We control it. If we find a way to control the surrounding planets around this thing, control the weather to whatever degree, or just be able to harness it in whatever direction we want to, then what can God do? That's kind of how that's how they're working. That's how they're operating, to be honest with you. Because the way they see it is God can hurt them in certain ways. It's not that they don't believe in him. They're just trying to, with all the things that they control, stop whatever his wrath would be from coming upon them. If we control enough of the earth, what can he do? That's how they operate. Problem is, that's what they behold. That's not necessarily all the things that he can do. And they can keep playing whack-a-mole in this way if they want to. Something else will pop up and slap them in the backside. That's the truth. They're trying to play whack-a-mole in that regard. Stifle this, stifle that, stifle this, stifle that. Rig the stock market, control all the money. Okay. Get all the people. Propaganda in their head. All right. We got these armies, right? These armies are with us. Okay. We can control those people, kill off those people who control this over there, put our people in, control that. Got it. All right, what else can he do? Nah, he can't mess with that. We got that under control. We control all that. All right, let's go over here. Do this. That's how they're playing the world. Like it's a damn game where if they just control everything, nothing can happen unless they want it to. Meanwhile, God is creating people like me hiding in plain sight, telling the truth to everybody. Pointing out all of the things that they're doing. Suggesting these things to exactly who he wants them said to. Because no matter how much you try to stifle the will of God, what you're doing is going to ultimately have holes all through it. Pores. Your intentions breathe, friend. This is air just flowing through all them intentions, Zionists. No matter what you try to do, you can't stifle the will of God. He's quite amused, if I'm being quite honest with you. I believe God is actually in awe of the audacity of these individuals, of these type of people. Like the audacity, they think they can stop me. That's craziness. And so when he struts through their circumstances and shuns them and pushes all their buttons and does all these different things that frustrate the hell out of them, they just find themselves sitting in a corner like, what can we do? What can we do? That's where we're headed. That's exactly where they're headed. They're going to be sitting in a corner at some point in time in the story, just say, I don't know. We've done it all. I thought we had it all under control. I don't understand. We had our spies over here. We control that over there. We put our people over there. We own that. We got the propaganda on them. We got the propaganda on them. Those people hate themselves and love us. And those people think we're the best thing in the world. Like, how the hell is it? How are we still not where we want to be? It's because God exists. And you can't stop the all-seeing, all-moving, all-creating entity of infinite. I keep saying this. And so that's what I'm here to tell all of you again. And like I always say, you don't have to believe in God. That's fine. He doesn't need you to believe in him. You need to believe in him, not the other way around. Now, a lot of people are going to be offended by that. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. That's what I'm also here to tell you. Your belief is not required. He wants you to believe in him for you, so that you don't have yourself spiraled into infinite wrath for being his enemy. Because if you're not being recruited by God, you're just being recruited by the enemy. There's no either or, is what I've come to understand. There's no either or. Either you with God or you're not. And the enemy going to pick up anything that ain't with God. That's what you need to understand. Anything that's not with God, the enemy's on the way if he ain't already got to you. He needs everybody he can get. He's going up against God. He needs everyone he can get. So if you're not with God, you're going to be with him soon enough. That's what it is. So for those who don't believe in God, you may still be with God. That's the thing about it. Maybe you don't necessarily know it now, but by the end of this thing, you're going to be worshiping God as hard as I am. But if you're intentional on being the enemy of God, or if you want to move in a way that God doesn't appreciate, or you want to tell people that God told you you can exalt yourself and harm others, and tell everybody they're the worst people these individuals that you can't stand are the worst people in the world, and you're going to kill their children because those children are going to grow up to be horrors and rapists and all different type of stuff that you're telling them the world that these people are. If that's how you're going to move, then of course you're going to have to be an enemy of God, and whatever comes of that, I don't really want to know, to be honest with you. I don't really want to know what's going to happen to you. I feel sorry for you, though, I'll tell you that. I feel deeply sorry for you. I hope people heeding what's coming out of my mouth, man. I hope they're heeding it. I hope they understand that I'm not speaking from a hearsay perspective when I speak this way. Not if or maybe, nah, not at all. I can't tell you which religion is going to reach him. Like that part, that's not clear to me. I am a Christian person. That don't necessarily mean I know that that's the religion that he most turns toward, and we're the chosen ones to get it, and everybody else don't. I don't know that at all. I think he allows me to think along the lines of religion doesn't define people. Their intentions and their actions and the execution of those actions do a better job of defining whether or not they're of God than who they say they pray to when they're in whatever mosque or church they're in. Because I've known of many Christian people who say they believe in Christ who do not follow him. And I know many people who believe themselves to not believe in God and show more of what the Lord is about than a lot of people who claim to be people who teach about the Lord. That's what I've seen in my own life. I know people who say they don't believe in God who are better human beings than I am. They're quicker to help their friends, quicker to give you the clothes off their back than some of the people that I know are Christian, and some of the people I know who are devout. There's no perfect science when it comes to something like that. As it pertains to who lines up over there as a religion is the right one. If anything, that's the type of energy that ultimately separates all of us and puts us in a position to be right underneath the thumb of the enemy. And the Christ I know, the Christ I was taught us that. And yet so many people in the Christian religion, they ignore it. The very essence of the teaching of Christ is the opposite of what they do. They shun people for their differences, not for the merit of their character, but because they sex a certain way or something. They're the worst people in the world, and God don't mess with them, so we shouldn't either. Like, if a sinner comes into church, should he not be where he's where he needs to be, right? If the object of the game is to get right before we pass, then if a person who's not so good comes into the church looking for salvation, they're in the right place. By the very definition of it, they're in the right place. And yet I see so many churches pushing people away. For reasons of what? Because they don't live right. Ain't that the point? Ain't that the point? That's why they come to church, to be better, right? Isn't the idea to turn bad good? But so many churches ignore that. That's not what they align with. We want to make sure that the people who are here align with us. We're group thinkers. We're group prayers. We only want good people in church. But that defeats the purpose of what the Lord is trying to do. He don't need the same message going around within people who already know it. Keep on telling you a bunch of stuff you already heard and everybody just go to heaven together. You're supposed to be gathering new people into heaven. Good people. Come from people who were once in the dark in a lot of cases. So if you're pushing away everybody who's in the dark, aren't you effectively doing the devil's work? by way of what you teach each other. Isn't that the devil's work? But see, just like the Zionists, he ain't doing a whole lot of thinking. Just following. And politicking. Well, that's a bad look. We don't let them in here. We don't do that type of thing. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. Well, you are no different than them Zionists. You're moving the same energy as them. You're a devil. That's what you are when you do that. And just like them, you're no closer to knowing it. Devilish confusion. And that's why I tell people, like, I'm not a church person. I love, and I know my uncle wants me to go to church, and I respect his point of view because it's what he was raised with. You go to church, it's what we do. It's what we're supposed to do, whether we like it or not, whether the church is any good or not. You just be there. If it ain't the right church, you find another one until you find one, and you go there and you stay there and be there. And it's like, I'm not actually from that line of thinking. As far as I can tell, I can read. That means I am the church. I can pick up my Bible, I can pick up my devotional, and I can follow what's in it, interpret it well. I am the church. The church is in the people. The lessons are there. Now, if you're the type of person who needs to communicate with others in order to have fellowship, that's fair. But I'm an introvert. I don't need church. Now, I've had good times in church. I was raised in church. I like the church I was raised in. It's not me telling you church is no good. I'm just telling you that if I can't find another Maranatha, I don't need to huddle up in a place that ain't that great just because I need to be in church. I don't need to be there. What I need is to follow the goodness in my heart. Do what it says in that Bible, which is to read that Bible daily, for which I actually do literally, if I'm to follow my religion. And heed the teachings of the Christ, which tells me, love everybody of all religions. For which a lot of my religion doesn't teach, even though it's right there. Read it myself. Love everybody. Protect children. All children. Not just those children or everybody's children except for the Palestinians. You could protect Palestinian children so long as it's not Israelis who are mad at them, because if it's Israelis that's mad at them, then the Israelis have a right to kill Palestinians. They don't say none of that stuff in the Bible, man. They don't say nothing like that. But that's how y'all move. I mean, you go to church, but the only time you go to church is when you already have your stuff together. Because if you happen to be rude, you could be, or bad, or have piercings, or happen to sex a certain way, then you could be shunned from said church that you're being told to go to every Sunday. So you better go in there right. Or else, even though you're supposed to be there, you may not be welcome. So people effectively pretend to be something they're not, so they'll be welcome. This is how you have so much closetedness. You see what I'm saying? People be closeted because they know they won't be welcome in church unless they are a certain way that they're not. But they need to be welcome in church so that they can actually get to heaven, but they can't get to heaven for their lifestyle. So it's a bunch of confusion and nobody thinks their way through, and it's really a bunch of lies. To be honest with you, it's a bunch of lies. Now that's why I tell you, I don't put a whole lot of faith in religion or the structures of religions at all. I follow the Spirit of God that's in me, that comes from following what's in the book that I read in respect of a living God of whom I don't know of his secrets, nor of his interests, just that he is interested in communicating with me and helping everybody understand that there's good and bad in every single facet of walk of life, in every single type of people. Anybody can be anything. Some people go through periods where they're really good and really bad, and you better hope you don't die when you're doing the really bad stuff. When that really bad space, you better hope you don't die while that's happening. It can happen any time, so you might want to stay out of those bad spaces. And how do you define bad? By the way you treat your fellow man and animal. And most importantly, the way you adhere to the fear that God can bring forth the worst and the best of things in any given moment. So do the best you can not to make him mad, and the best way to make him mad is to treat people bad, I promise you. No matter what they tell you in them books, no matter what they tell you in them buildings, the best way to piss him off is to treat people bad. Not just those people, not those people, some of them people, maybe some of them, but not really them, depending on who's mad at them. And if it's them that's mad at them, then you probably can let them do whatever they want. No, it's none of that. None of that. People. And for your sake, I hope you define as all upright and living entities that identify as human, however we identify these days, as people. I hope that you don't exclude some humans as considered people. Because if you're mistaken in that way, it's going to get real ugly for you. Because the reality is, according to the God that I know, you're really evil. PDL 44. Thank you all for watching.